I used to think quiet mornings were sacred, the one time of day when life felt predictable, gentle, almost safe. I didn't know that a single sentence over breakfast could gut an entire future. My name is Sherry Hagley. I'm 29, and until last Thursday, I genuinely believed I was building a life with my boyfriend Marcus Hale. 3 years together, 18 months living under the same roof, long talks about rings and starter homes. It all felt steady, real. In the way you only dare to believe when you finally found someone who doesn't play games. Or so I thought. That morning, I was plating scrambled eggs when Marcus cleared his throat. It wasn't the thoughtful kind. It was the kind people use right before saying something they know will hurt. Sherry, we need to talk. I turned spatula in hand, already feeling something cold snake through my ribs. Okay, I said, keeping my voice light. He exhaled dramatically, like the weight of our entire relationship was crushing him. You're boring, Sherry. I blinked. I'm what? Boring, he repeated more confidently the second time. I need someone more exciting. Someone who actually wants to live a little, like Jocelyn. There it was, the name that had been creeping into his vocabulary lately, like a stain. Jocelyn Hart. 31, a new friend from his yoga studio. Trust fund baby lover of glittering nights and expensive spontaneity. She floated through life on champagne bubbles and people's money. The 2 times I met her, she looked at me the same way someone looks at an outdated phone, functional but unimpressive. I swallowed. So, you're breaking up with me. For her, Marcus rolled his eyes. Not for her. She just made me realize what's missing. I need adventure, not meal prepping and documentary nights. The spatula in my hand suddenly felt heavy. I wanted to scream, to cry, to tell him how cruel he was being. Instead, something inside me went eerily calm. I understand, I said quietly. He froze, clearly expecting a meltdown. That's it. No fight, no begging. You've made your decision, I replied. When are you moving out? Marcus frowned, like I had just broken some unspoken script. Oh, I'm not moving. This is my apartment too. Remember, I thought you'd leave. Jocelyn said I can crash at her penthouse anytime I need a break from... He gestured around at our modest apartment. This. That sting should have broken me. Instead, it woke something up. Something sharper. He didn't know he had forgotten that our joint savings account was equally accessible by either of us. $22,000 saved for a future we apparently no longer had. So I smiled. Okay, I said softly. I'll figure something out. He looked pleased, even smug, like he'd just done me a favor by discarding me. When he left for work, humming to himself, I stood there in the silence he'd hollowed out. My hands trembled, but not from heartbreak, from clarity. By noon, I had called in sick. By 12:30, I was sitting across from a bank teller who slid a withdrawal slip toward me. $11,000, my exact half. Legal, clean, no drama. By 2 p.m., a new apartment was secured, a tiny but warm studio. $4,500 down for deposits and first month's rent. Worth every penny for the peace of knowing Marcus would never again use boring like a blade against me. By 5, I was packing everything I owned into boxes, clothes, documents, the pieces of myself Marcus never bothered to notice. He texted around lunchtime. Thanks for being mature about this. Jocelyn's taking me to Cabo next week, so excited. I replied with 2 words, enjoy it. That night, he stayed with Jocelyn in her shimmering penthouse world. I stayed home, our home for now, loading my car until exhaustion became my shield. Right before midnight, I placed my apartment key on the counter with a small, handwritten note. All yours now. Good luck with the adventure. The next morning, I drove away as sunlight hit the empty parking lot. I didn't cry. Not yet. But something deep inside whispered a warning. Marcus didn't hear a quiet foreshadowing. Adventure always comes with a cost, and Marcus was about to pay it. I thought leaving the key on the counter would be the end of things, a clean break. A quiet exit, no theatrics. I underestimated Marcus. Or maybe I just overestimated his ability to live with the consequences of the life he was so desperate to chase. By Monday afternoon, my phone lit up like it was possessed. 62 missed calls, all from Marcus, followed by an avalanche of voicemails, each one more frantic, furious, or pathetic than the last. I sat in my new studio apartment, the walls still smelling like fresh paint, listening to each message with the detached curiosity of someone watching a documentary about a species she no longer belonged to. Voicemail 1, confusion. Sherry. Hey, weird thing. The rent check bounced. There's like $30-something in the account. Did you move money? Call me back. Voicemail 3, anger. Sherry, what the hell? You took half the savings. That was our money for our future. You can't just do that. I'll call the police if I have to. Voicemail. 6. Panic, I talked to the bank. They said it's legal, but that can't be right. You owe me that money. I have bills, Sherry. I can't do this alone. Voicemail. 9. Blame Jocelyn isn't answering her phone. She said Cabo was taken care of. Now she's ghosting me. This is your fault somehow. I paused the playback and let silence fill the room again. There it was. Not remorse, not reflection, not even a hint of understanding. Just entitlement. Pure, unfiltered entitlement. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. By late afternoon, the desperation evolved into emotional theatrics. Voicemail 14. Pleading. Please, Sherry. I can't afford this place alone. Be reasonable. This isn't fair. Fair. A word Marcus had never cared about until it applied to him. I texted him once, just once, because some things deserve clarity. You wanted excitement. Figuring out adulthood solo should be quite the adventure. Then I blocked his number. One tap, and the noise went silent. Unfortunately, silence didn't last. 5 minutes later, a call came from a different number. His sister Lila. I answered because I didn't recognize it, and regretted it instantly. Sherry, how could you leave Marcus with nothing? She snapped before I even breathed. I left him with exactly what he had before me, and before Jocelyn, I replied calmly. So you admit you abandoned him. I moved out. I didn't abandon him. You took all the money. I took my half. Marcus already took his a month ago. A beat of silence. She didn't know. She launched into a tirade anyway, calling me selfish, cruel, vindictive. I blocked her mid-sentence. His mother called next, then his best friend, then a coworker I'd never even spoken to. All with the same chorus, how could you, poor Marcus? He's struggling. Do the right thing. It was almost impressive how quickly they turned him into a martyr. By evening, the situation escalated from chaotic to surreal. I got a notification Marcus had tagged me in an Instagram post. His caption read like a public tantrum. When you think someone loves you, but they turn into a financial abuser, this woman stole from our joint account and left me homeless. Beware. People aren't who they seem. He circled my face in red like I was a wanted criminal. The comments section exploded instantly. Half the commenters were ready to burn me at the stake. The other half asked why a grown man couldn't afford his own rent if he was so independent. Someone even posted, "Wait, didn't you brag about going to Cabo with that rich yoga girl? What happened?" Marcus deleted the post within an hour. I didn't screenshot it. I didn't need to. He was unraveling in real time and publicly. But the thing that made me pause wasn't the meltdown or the blame or even the lies. It was how quickly the world he traded me for was crumbling beneath him. Adventure, I thought. He wanted adventure, and adventure had finally answered back. By Tuesday morning, the chaos reached a new level, the kind of absurdity you'd expect from a courtroom comedy, not from a man who once swore he wanted to grow old with me. A letter arrived at my new apartment complex. Thin envelope, cheap paper, no return address. Inside, small claims court filing. Plaintiff Marcus Hale. He was suing me for $11,000 stolen funds, $2,400 in rent for the next 3 months, $5,000 in emotional distress, and I almost choked $600 for the Cabo trip he couldn't take because of my financial abuse. Total $19,000. I laughed, out loud. It echoed off the bare walls of my studio like something unhinged. I hadn't expected closure from Marcus, but I also hadn't expected him to weaponize his own irresponsibility into legal paperwork. I scheduled a consultation with an actual attorney, a calm, silver-haired man named Mr. Dawes, who read the papers twice and snorted. Who drafted this, he asked. A paralegal service. Ah, yes, the legal equivalent of YouTube tutorials. He wrote a response letter so cold, so precise, so mercilessly factual that even I winced. Ms. Higley withdrew her rightful 50% of a joint account, fully legal under state law. Mr. Hale is jointly liable for the lease and remains so, regardless of relationship status. The claimed emotional distress appears to stem from self-inflicted choices. The missed vacation is not actionable. We advise immediate withdrawal of these frivolous claims, or we will countersue for fees and harassment. I paid him $300. Best money I have ever spent. By Thursday, the court alerted me Marcus withdrew his case. But he wasn't done falling. The lockout. That night around 11 p.m., my phone buzzed, not a call, but a notification from the security camera app attached to the building's intercom. Marcus, standing outside my door swaying, eyes glossy, hair messy, shirt wrinkled. He looked small, like a child who had lost his mother in a grocery store. Sherry, he slurred into the speaker, open up, please. I pressed the intercom button. Marcus, you can't be here. His voice cracked. I messed up. Jocelyn's a nightmare. She kicked me out, said I was killing the vibe. Sherry, I have nowhere to go. That's not my problem. It is. You took the money. I took my money. You abandoned me. You left the relationship, I said, steady as steel. You left us. He covered his face with his hands. They changed the locks. I'm 3 days late on rent. I don't even know if that's legal. It is illegal, I said flatly, but I'm not giving you legal advice. Or a place to stay. Please. A quiet, desperate sob. I can't call my mom. She said she's done. Lila blocked me. Jocelyn. Jocelyn replaced me with some finance guy already. I need someone. The silence stretched. For a moment, I almost opened the door. A reflex from loving someone too long. A flicker of old instincts. Then I remembered his voice that morning at breakfast. You're boring. I need someone exciting. I figured you'd leave. I exhaled, letting those words harden into armor. There's a shelter on 5th Street, I said. They take walk-ins. Sherry, please. I hung up. The intercom buzzed 3 more times before a neighbor called the police about a disturbance. They escorted him away, not arrested, just redirected. Marcus didn't look back at the camera. The truth comes out. 2 days later, my phone rang again. Marcus's mother, from a different number. Sherry, please don't hang up. Deep sigh. What is it, Mrs. Hale? Marcus is staying with me now. He knows he made terrible mistakes. He's working 2 jobs to save for a deposit. Would you consider giving him another chance? No. He's miserable, Sherry. Haven't you punished him enough? I didn't punish him. I removed myself from a situation he created. She hesitated, then added softly, You had the joint savings. Couldn't you help him? Just a little. He's welcome to the $11,000 he contributed. Oh, thank God. Except he already withdrew his half. I let the next words drop like lead. Last month, for Jocelyn's birthday yacht party. Her breath caught. He told you I took all the money, didn't he? Silence. He leaves out a lot of parts, she said quietly. That's something you and I finally agree on. She hung up. Nay. Over the next week, Marcus went quiet. No calls, no posts, no rants from his family. Just silence, the kind that comes after a storm destroys everything it touches. And somehow I knew. This wasn't rock bottom for him yet. He still had further to fall. Rock bottom doesn't always come with explosions. Sometimes it's quiet, almost cinematic, arriving under dull grocery store lighting between shelves of pasta and frozen vegetables. But Marcus's fall didn't happen all at once. It came in fragments, each one sharper than the last. It was late afternoon when I ran into Jenna at Trader Joe's. She was holding a small basket of lemons and almond milk, her hair pulled back like someone who had given up on impressing the world that day. When she saw me, her smile faltered, the kind of expression people make when they suddenly remember they misjudged you. Sherry, she said softly. Hey. I nodded politely. Hi, Jenna. How are you? She asked, shifting the basket nervously in her hands. I'm good, I replied. You. She let out a shaky breath. Fine. Actually, look, I owe you an apology. I raised an eyebrow. I was wrong, she said, voice trembling with truth she'd clearly rehearsed. Marcus lied to us, to all of us. He didn't tell anyone he'd already taken his half of the savings for Jocelyn's stupid birthday yacht party. He made it sound like you drained the whole account and left him with nothing. He said you abandoned him out of nowhere. Her eyes glistened with embarrassment. I shouldn't have judged you. I'm sorry. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't even feel vindicated. Just a deep, exhausted quiet. Before she turned away, she added, He's not doing well, you know. Living with his mom. Working double shifts. Jocelyn's group calls him Budget Marcus now. He's basically been blacklisted from everything he left you for. I didn't reply. What was there left to say? 2 nights later, I heard a soft, uncertain knock on my apartment door. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps more. It was too familiar, like the echo of a past life trying to crawl back in. Through the peephole, I saw him. Marcus. He looked nothing like the man who once lectured me about excitement. His shoulders sagged, his eyes dull and exhausted, his clothes rumpled like he'd slept in them. I opened the door only as far as the chain allowed. Hi, he murmured. You can't be here, Marcus. I know, he whispered. Please, 2 minutes. I didn't let him inside, but I didn't close the door either. He stared at the ground, rubbing the back of his neck, as if steadying himself. I messed up, he said, voice shaking. Completely. And I know I don't deserve your time, but I needed to say it. He inhaled shakily. I ruined everything, Sherry. What we had. Our home. Our future. I threw it away for parties that couldn't care less if I existed unless I was paying for something. His laugh was hollow painful. You know what Jocelyn's friends call me now, Budget Marcus. If I show up without offering to pay for bottles or trips or anything expensive, they suddenly have other plans. I thought I needed excitement, but what I actually needed was something that felt real. Something you gave me every day. He swallowed hard. You weren't boring. You were safe. And I treated safe like it was some prison. But it was the only time in my life I wasn't completely lost. His eyes shined as he fought back emotion. I'm not asking for another chance. I know I burned that bridge to ash. I just wanted you to know I see it now. Everything you did for us. Everything I took for granted. I nodded once. Okay. He waited, hoping maybe for forgiveness or a flicker of old warmth. But all I felt was stillness. A calm, unshakable nothingness. The kind of emotional neutrality that comes only after you've survived the worst and realized it didn't break you. Goodbye, Marcus, I said. He nodded, stepped back and turned down the hallway, his silhouette shrinking under the flickering fluorescent lights. I watched him until he disappeared around the corner, then closed the door gently. I had barely turned off the hall light when my phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. The message preview flashed just long enough to show a name I hadn't expected. Jocelyn. Hey, Sherry. Weird question is, Marcus always this dramatic about money. He keeps asking to borrow like $50 here and there, and it's getting super awkward. Anyway, you dodged a bullet. Drink sometime. For a moment, all I could do was stare at the screen. Then I deleted the message, blocked the number, and went on with my night. Their world, the one Marcus threw away everything to join, was made of glitter and smoke. Beautiful from a distance, suffocating up close. And watching it crumble around them didn't feel satisfying. It felt irrelevant. Because in that moment, standing alone in my quiet apartment, I realized something powerful. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurting. I wasn't even nostalgic. I was free. The funny thing about healing is that it rarely announces itself. There's no triumphant music, no cinematic swell, no dramatic sunrise where everything finally makes sense. Sometimes healing slips in quietly like a guest who doesn't want to disturb you. You only realize it's there when you catch yourself breathing easier. That's what happened to me. It didn't start with revenge or closure or any grand moment of reckoning. It started with a text from Nathan, the guy who lived 2 floors down and once asked me to spot him at the apartment gym. Coffee on Saturday, no pressure, he wrote. I said yes. Our first date wasn't flashy, no rooftop bars, no luxury yachts, no curated photo ops. Just a tiny cafe with good cappuccinos and mismatched chairs. Nathan listened when I talked. Really listened. He laughed like he meant it. And when we walked home afterward, his hand brushed mine gently, not possessive, not demanding, just a quiet invitation. It felt safe. And safe, I realized, was not the enemy. Safe was what kept you from losing yourself. I was cooking dinner a week later, salmon and asparagus with lemon butter, when an email notification appeared on my laptop. Subject: Please read from Marcus Hale. I froze for a second. Part of me considered deleting it unread, but curiosity, or maybe a desire for final clarity, won out. I opened it. Sherry. My therapist said writing this might help me accept things. She told me not to send it, but I think you deserve the truth. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I'm writing because I finally understand the damage I caused to us, to myself, to the life I threw away without thinking. He wrote about Jocelyn's world, how it sparkled on the surface but felt hollow underneath, how he'd chased the feeling of being chosen by her only to discover he was just another accessory, how he'd misread luxury for love attention, for affection, excitement for fulfillment. I thought excitement meant happiness. Turns out it only meant exhaustion. The last few months have humbled me, Sherry. I take the bus. I work double shifts. I can barely cover rent at my mom's place. Jocelyn's friends call me Budget Marcus when they see me. I'm the joke of the group I tried so hard to belong to. He admitted the truth about our savings, how he'd taken his half early, how he'd manipulated the narrative to make me look like the villain, how he had convinced himself that he deserved more without realizing he was giving up everything that had ever grounded him. You weren't boring. You were steady. You were good in a world that feeds on chaos, and I was too immature to see the value in that. I won't ask you to respond or forgive me. I just needed you to know I see it now, all of it. The good you gave me, the damage I caused, and the life I threw away because I thought I was entitled to something shinier. At the end, he added one small line, P.S. If you ever want your sweatshirt or the mug I bought you as a joke, I still have them. I wear the sweatshirt sometimes. It makes me feel like I didn't ruin everything. The email left me with a strange ache, not love, not longing, not even anger, just closure. 2 days later, a Venmo notification popped up on my phone. Marcus Hale sent you $50 first installment. I'll pay back everything I withdrew early. I stared at the message for a long moment. Nathan wandered into the kitchen, slicing an apple. Your ex? He asked gently. Yeah, I said. He's paying me back. Nathan nodded slowly. Good for him. Growth is still growth. No jealousy, no suspicion, just calm acceptance. This, I thought, is what grown love looks like. A few days later, Jenna texted me again. Marcus was promoted to shift supervisor. It's small, but he's rebuilding. Thought you'd want to know. I didn't reply, but I smiled faintly, not for him, but for the person he might someday become. Life kept moving. Nathan and I spent Saturdays at the farmer's market experimenting with homemade ramen and arguing playfully about which documentaries were overrated. My little studio apartment started to feel cozy instead of temporary, warm instead of lonely. And one night while washing dishes, something occurred to me. Marcus wasn't wrong when he called me boring. I am boring. Predictable, stable, responsible, deeply, beautifully boring. And boring, it turned out, was what paid my bills. Boring protected my future. Boring walked away from chaos instead of clinging to it. Boring rebuilt a life that someone else threw away. Boring healed. Meanwhile, the exciting life Marcus chased had burned him down to ashes. Good. He needed those ashes to start again. As for me,